called Crossroads. First movement is called High Road, and I can't wait to dive in. It looks very, very cool. I love Brian's writing, and look forward to jumping into it. And actually, he wrote Lance's part for his song. I guess he was worried that I wouldn't understand what we were looking at here. Hi, this is the second half of that interview that I did with Brian Balmages leading up to the premiere of his new piece, Crossroads, which I'm playing at the Falcone competition up in Michigan at Blue Lake Fine Arts Camp in the middle of August. In this interview, we pick up right where we left off, and he talks a little bit more specifically about the piece itself. You'll hear him explain how it is that he got to deciding on the sort of format and form that he chose for this. I hope you enjoy it. Thanks for sticking around. See you soon. Was the process, you talked about the process at the beginning of the first movement, how that evolved. Is that a typical thing that happens? In other words, you sort of change domains, and sometimes I'm just going to work on the lead line, sometimes I'm going to work on a piano score, and it just sort of bounces around, or?
Sometimes it does. It really, I used to try to write every piece the same way until I realized every piece is different, and so sometimes the approach is going to be really different as well. In this particular case, yeah, that's how I did it. There are times where I write the entire thing by hand first. I do sketches of everything by hand to the point where I can even tell you how many measures are going to be in the piece. I know everything. There are times that I can orchestrate directly into finale. Like I'm actually orchestrating as I go. That happened towards the end of this piece when I really was locked in. There are other times where, and I actually did this with this piece as well, where I was really fired up into one place, and then I knew like the bebop section that we had talked about. That bebop section originally in the first version that I sent you was about 4 minutes earlier.
Yeah, it was much earlier. Yeah,
it was like 3 or 4 minutes earlier, and the pacing just seemed completely off to me, and it seemed like nothing before that had been developed. It just didn't make any sense to me, and so I finished that. I kept going with that, knowing that I was not even close to getting there yet. And so sometimes it's easier to know where you're going once well, I should say it's easier to kind of plan your path when you already know where you need to go and where you've been, and then you kind of join the two together.
Sure.
And so that was the case with this. Same thing in the first movement. Before the end, there was like a minute-long section that wasn't there originally that just, there was no transition. It wasn't working for me, and so I had to get us from one place back to the other. And with that bebop section, that just seems so. It's hard to do much after that. Mm-hmm. Once that section hits, it's really kind of a groove. And I didn't want 6 minutes of bebop. It was just, that's not where I wanted to go. But it was really important to have that section there. So I needed to pace myself through developing the other material before we got to that section. Because God knows we all need to pace ourselves when we hear bebop.
Especially at our age.
Exactly.
Well, I must be older than you, though, so...
you clearly are.
Clearly. Well, that's why I do this, and nobody sort of...
Yeah, well, if you...
So, yeah. Hey, look at there.
Hey, whoa, hey, okay.
So, when you say you write, you pen to paper on a program? What programs? What do you use? What's the process? What mechanics?
Yeah, I typically use a laser etcher right into my monitor screen. Gotcha. It's great. Yeah, I write every piece one time. And,
there you go.
So the process varies. So I use Finale, and everybody says, "Oh, but Finale, Sibelius, no score, no tape, whatever, Notion. I don't care. The easiest one is the one you know how to use,
sure.
And I know how to use Finale, and that's fine. I've been using it for a long time, and it's what my publisher uses, so it makes it much easier to translate, the files when they get them. So sometimes I'm writing by hand, and I enjoy writing by hand. There's something to be said about walking away from the computer, walking away from the keyboard, and just sitting down at a table and just writing. And that's when your imagination is really at its fullest, because you can hear a lot more than you can play, right. And you can hear a lot more color than Finale can play back, or any of these samplers can play back. Sometimes I like to write at the piano, and I'll sit down, and that's usually when I'm really exploring some interesting different harmonies. I enjoy playing the piano a lot, so Sometimes I'll do that. Sometimes I'll just sit down at the piano for half an hour and just play. And eventually, hopefully, something will come to mind. I did that at the beginning of this piece, and that did absolutely nothing for me. So I stopped playing. Yeah, it was great. And then sometimes I sketch into finale. In this particular case, like I said, sometimes I know where the solo line is going, so I can do that. There were times where I just had had, like, for example, trombones. I just put 6 notes in the trombone line just so I could remember the harmonies that I was hearing, and then go back and later orchestrate that out, but have the core of it all there. So those are all methods that I use. I think sometimes as composers, we've got to mix things up. Very similar. It's really no different than people practicing. You hit a rut, and when you keep doing the same thing every day, you kind of eventually plateau. And as a composer, I think you approach everything the exact same way. Eventually you plateau, so you got to mix it up. You got to change things and try a new approach.
Makes sense. Why 2 movements? Why the form that it took? Because I
couldn't write anything that long with it 1 movement. No, for me, one of the things that I wanted to do, and of course, knowing you and knowing a lot of friends, how do I say this without being offensive to someone?
You just be offensive.
Just say, but most of the euphonium players that I know that are very capable euphonium players have this obviously very serious side, and it's very. I said most have this very serious side, and there's a lot of technique, and there's all those things, and so I wanted to be able to explore that, but at the same time, also they're euphonium players, and so a lot of them have a what's the word? A other side might be the best word. The post-concert side.
Sure.
But and I wanted to be able to explore that too. To be able to explore this goofier kind of more down and dirty, just fun, whatever you got kind of side. And so by doing the 2 movements, I was able to really explore both of those, and that's why I called the piece Crossroads. So you have the high road, which is this artistic. Nose raising, the harmonies tend to be much more contemporary. The lines are much more angular. Everything the way the piece even develops is much more abstract. And so to be able to do something like that versus the second movement, which is the low road, which is almost like okay, now we're going to give you a little bit more of what you want kind of thing. And that's certainly there's more technique involved in the second movement. There's more stylistic opportunities with the bebop, with the little cadenza, which kind of mixes in a little bebop with a little bit of funk and a little swag, all those different kinds of things. So trying to put all that together. So that's why the 2 movements.
All right, have a spectacular day. Thank you for your time, my friend.
Absolutely, I'll catch you soon.
Later, Tater.
Bye.
That's too late.
Please subscribe to my channel. I know that I'm not pretty, smart or even witty, but please just watch my video.